G.I Joe as a comic book medium dates back to 1942. However, the modern version of G.I. Joe dates back to 1967. The most well-known G.I. Joe in terms of media were a series of cartoons from the 1980s, which were received well by audiences as well as critics. G.I. Joe as a franchise began to slowly decline through the 1980s on into the 1990s. Seeking new ways to promote their toy line as well as their products, Hasbro as well as the other companies with vested interests within the G.I. Joe toys began to experiment with films. The G.I. Joe films date back to roughly 1994, but due to problems with development and rights legalities, it wasn't until 2009 with G.I. Joe The Rise of Cobra was released in United States theaters. Despite the film receiving mixed reviews in terms of reception from audiences as well as critics, a sequel was released in 2013, being that of G.I. Joe Retaliation. Once again, the film received mixed receptions from audiences and critics, and only barely made back on its initial investment. Due to the negative reception to these particular G.I. Joe films, a reboot was made for the franchise, being that of G.I. Joe Origins Snake Eyes, released in 2021. In the original two films, Scottish actor Ray Park starred as Snake Eyes, but in the reboot, Snake Eyes was depicted by Henry Golding. The film in particular was heavily criticized for its adoption of Snake Eyes. Respected comic book writer Larry Hama, who is actually the creator of Snake Eyes the character, was one of the most vocal critics of the film due to how the character was changed for the film's adaptation. From the original source material by Larry Hama, as well as others at the time, Snake Eyes, as well as other elites from the G.I. Joe series, actually served in the Vietnam War. During a particular incident, he's caught in a conflict with the North Vietnamese army, and there were casualties due to the incident. It was during this time that the circumstances within the comics had Storm Shadow's origins as well. Once the war was concluded and Snake Eyes returned to the United States, he learned through further situations that his family had been killed in an automobile accident. Realizing that there wasn't anything else there for him, he took up an offer to train in ninjutsu with Storm Shadow's clan in Japan. Snake Eyes becomes a Westerner experienced with ninjutsu and shares a bond with Storm Shadow. Through the Larry Hama-based comics, Snake Eyes also became involved with Scarlet as he embarked on various missions and trials through the course of the comics, which were published from 1982 through 1994. These of Snake Eyes were considered the definitive story for the character, but in the 2021 film, Snake Eyes' origin was drastically changed for the film in terms of Snake Eyes' origin, motivation to become a soldier, and even his ethnicity. Due to the fact that the film was originally intended to be a reboot for the franchise, Snake Eyes' details were supposed to be secret or unknown, as these mysterious, eluding traits gave a sense of mystery or allure to the character. These otherwise unknown details were explained to give the film depth or the plot meaning. The background of Snake Eyes was a major source of debate for the film in terms of fans of the toys or even readers of the comics, as there were much deviations from the original source material, because there were decades of established continuity of Snake Eyes being that of a European-American based heritage that identified with the comic readers, or the demographic groups that often bought the toys, but Snake Eyes being changed to reflect Henry Golding's biracial background of European and Asian traits. There were mostly negative reactions to that actual detail, both due to Henry Golding as an actor, as well as the theoretical pandering to fans who preferred Snake Eyes to be different when compared to the previous versions of the character. From information now known, due to the previous films being received negatively by film audiences, as well as the Snake Eyes reboot interpretation of the character received even less favorably, there were original plans for more films to be developed, but due to the financial failure of Henry Golding's Snake Eyes, it's all uncertain A character can be overrated yet hated because they were originally intended to be vague or non-descriptive for purposes within the story, but an adaptation changed these details, and these changes were not liked by anyone.